Have you ever felt alone? Entirely alone? Like there are people all around you and you're talking to thousands, but really none of them are actually there? That your brother that's constantly sitting on the other side of the room isn't real? I want to be overly dramatic and say not even one person will hear this, and to share if you agree, but that sounds obnoxious, doesn't it? Anyway, I'm just recording these for myself. Fourth wall breaks are not permitted. Like, and share if you agree. I thought I ought to start making these since coming back to Lyallsville. It's not that I've been gone for a long time, but it felt long enough for things to have changed, and I thought maybe I could make something out of it. Also, I can't leave. I grew up here when I was younger, and my parents and I moved away when I was in my early teens. I can't remember the exact year it was. I think 16. I definitely remember celebrating my birthday over at that restaurant in New Day, but I can't remember if that was a trip or after we already moved over that way. My family came from a long line of Lyatines, but it wasn't something that we really acknowledged when we last lived here. Because Lyallsville has been known for quite some time as the most famous site of Lyatine genocide. Thousands were hung and burned here. We were considered monsters, and when we weren't monsters, we were second class. People nowadays talk about it like it was something that happened centuries ago. There have been recorded incidents as late as 40 years ago. There are rumors that there aren't any Lyatines in this country because of Lyallsville, but my family's still here. We grew up here. So what's the deal? Of course we know it's not true. There are plenty of Lyatines in this country, but they don't talk about it. It's best not to. It wasn't that my family wasn't well known for descending from Lyatines. Clever nature folk with clever herbs growing in our gardens. But they talked like it was bred out of us, as if it was something that could simply disappear from a family line, as if you could say that about another human being. But anyway, I can't leave Lyallsville now that I've come back. My brother can, but he's not my blood brother. He just came around for a ride, and I'm just here to get one. It feels like there are thousands of people around me, and I'm alone. I came back and rented a house first. This place is simple and cheap, and it's easy to meet the monthly rent. It's an amount of money. You know the amount. Yeah, that much. I have a job putting commas in places even though I don't know where they're supposed to go. It's an art, really. And then I went to get my ID renewed. I had to go around town collecting so much information just to get that done. I went to the town hall and they asked me why I was. I was white, I said. I was a local since I was born, until I wasn't a few years ago, I said. A Lyatine, I said, exasperated after a while. The woman raised her eyebrows at me, squinted at her papers, and then looked back at me. A Lyatine? She replied. Yeah, I said, like the salt. I was fairly sure I said it clearly, but I wouldn't doubt if I listened back to this entire recording, I wouldn't understand a single word of it. I talked real weird. So she asked me if I wanted a tag. A tag, I said, and she said all the younger people are getting them. All the young Lyatines. Lyatines, she said, actually. There are Lyatines in Lyallsville? You would know if you got the tag. All of them are getting the tag. How else would you know? It's easy to know. You can smell it on them, I say. Oh no, she says. You need a tag to know. I don't think so, I told her. People like her need a tag to know. We knew just fine. Isn't there something sketchy about marking people based off their race? It's clearly not a race, she stated. Don't you separate yourselves from the rest of us enough? No, of course I don't, I said. I never went out of my way to separate myself in my life. It just sort of happened that way. It wasn't my fault that it turned out that way. I guess I was starting to get a bit upset about it. I guess the nearby officer didn't like the tone of my voice. He walked over and told me that if I didn't calm down, I would be taken to the police department. I can't remember what I said in return, but then I was at the police department. So one thing led to another, and I'm not legally allowed to step out of town. I would say that's unreasonable of them, but there's definitely something weird going on in this town. My brother picked me up, and I've been spending my time at home for now. I'm considering going out and exploring the town soon enough and seeing what changed and what's the same. I don't think they need to sign those papers saying I couldn't, for me to know that if I decided to drive and not stop in any direction, I would end up back here again before long. This is Lyallsville. So this is Lyallsville. Basically, it's a story-based podcast type thing I'm trying to do. And I don't know if that's the correct word for it, but it's what I had in mind, and some of you might know what's inspiring me to make this. But just overall, I think the idea of an audio-based story is pretty interesting. And I do plan on recording some of the stories I've written on this channel in the future, but Lyallsville will be exclusively audio-based. I don't know if I did a good job on this first part, but I hope to get better as I go on. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll continue to listen.